Welcome, and let's start our yoga practice today. So come on over to your yoga mat if you're not there already. We will start lying down, so make your way to some comfortable position, maybe Shavasana, corpse pose with your arms and legs outstretched. Or maybe you find constructive rest pose, standing your feet up at the edges of your mat and then allowing your knees to fall together at the center. And those are just two options to start with. You could explore a little farther, maybe take a different hand position or leg position, maybe adding some props, blanket or maybe a pillow underneath the knees or underneath your head. Also, it's kind of nice to hug a pillow on top of yourself, so feel free to explore until you feel comfy and settled. And welcoming the pressure between your body and the floor, just noticing those points of contact. And trying to assume the role of non judgmental observer, or just kind of pure awareness. Just noticing which parts of your body feel that connection, if it feels like a similar pressure on each side of your body. Curiously exploring what there is to feel right now. And once you have felt the back side of your body, then noticing the top side of your body. Maybe detecting the temperature of air in your space. Maybe how tight or loose your clothes feel. If you're wearing any jewelry or other articles of clothing, just kind of noticing the feel of those. And then going inward, notice what it feels like on the inside of your body to the best of your ability. Just kind of sensing inward. Scanning through, observing with a neutral, non judgmental mind. And that is certainly a practice. So if you catch yourself kind of judging or creating storylines, just kind of being happy that you noticed. And then coming back to this awareness, this neutral awareness place. And calling in the breath. What does it feel like to breathe right now for you? Does it feel challenging or easy or somewhere in between? Is it possible to breathe just through your nose? Or do you find yourself breathing through the mouth a little bit? If it's possible, we will breathe just through the nose and find our proper oral posture, sealing your lips, creating just a hint of space between the biting surfaces of your teeth. And by hint, that's like 2 millimeters max, so just tiny, tiny bit of space there between the teeth. And then rest or gently press your tongue up into the roof of your mouth. And then imagine or sense your nasal passageways growing wider and clearer so that every breath becomes easier and easier. Air flowing in, oxygenating your body. Air flowing out, releasing anything that's ready to move with it. Inhaling and exhaling. And letting your belly expand with those inhales, feeling almost like you're doing a whole body breath in now. Breathing not even just the lungs, but through the entire torso. Maybe your limbs can feel the breath in. And then exhaling. Go ahead and experiment with that for a while, creating a sense of full body breathing. Some people report like feeling a little buzz or a little warmth or some kind of like fresh energy type of feel through the body. I certainly can feel kind of a heightened awareness of my entire body breathing this way. So just see what there is for you here. And with these last few moments here of our mindful breath, you might start to think of something or someone that you'd like to hold as an intention or a dedication for your practice. Maybe something you're trying to focus on, grow, or cultivate in your life. Maybe someone or a group of people that you'd like to dedicate your efforts towards today. And if nothing comes to mind, that's fine too. Just so happy that you are here. That's enough. Let's take 3 clearing breaths now as we prepare to move. We're inhaling through the nose, filling all the way up. And when it feels right, sighing or blowing through your mouth. We're doing 3 of them, so inhaling again, nice and full. And sighing or blowing out of your mouth. Keep going one more time. And then come back to a steady pace of breath, nasal breathing if that's available. And slowly start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Gently reawakening your body here. Unless you're needing rest, then feel free to stay. Stay and breathe as long as you'd like. If we're starting to move, we're now circling through ankles and wrists a little bit. Then eventually heading into a long body stretch, reaching hands and feet in opposite directions, stretching those shoulders, stretching those feet, everything in between. Good, good. And then we'll lower the hands down by our sides. Let's bend the knees and stand the feet up here. We'll do a couple rounds of breathing bridge pose. But before we do, we're just going to notice the small of the back or the arch, the curve of the spine here at the low back. And you can put your hands right on those hip bones, the hip points here, and just kind of see how the pelvis moves. So when you tuck the tailbone under and you kind of push the hip points down or like up toward the belly button a little bit, you might notice that your low back flattens even more to the floor. And then when you rotate in the opposite way, those hip points kind of pulling up, you can find even more of an arch through the spine there. Just do that a couple of times. We're just tucking and then arching a couple of times. This is really good for a low back tightness or pain or just general mobility here. So just a couple times both ways. We're flattening the low back tucking the tailbone, and then going in that other direction, rounding up to the middle of the back. Kind of reminiscent of cat and cow here, just through the pelvis. Good. Now we're gonna tuck the tailbone under, flatten your low back to the floor. Press your hands down into the mat by your sides. Tuck your shoulder blades this time under, so your chest kind of puffs up. Retuck your tailbone if the low back has grown away from the floor. Press down through your feet with your inhale. Lift those hips up, feeling your thighs, feeling your glutes, doing a little bit of work here. And then exhale to lower back down. Let's do that about 5 times. Let's inhale, lift up, going at your own pace, and then exhale to lower down. And if your knees ever feel any discomfort or pain, you could walk your feet out toward the top or toward the side edges of your mat a little bit more and then see if that helps or not. Just a couple more, your own pace here. You're inhaling to lift and exhale to lower. Maybe just about one more, and we'll stay lifted on that last one whenever you get there. Once you're up here in your bridge pose, you might tuck your chin toward your chest a little bit more to feel length through the back of your neck. Press down through the upper shoulders here, press down through your feet. Notice all the edges of your feet. See if you can create some kind of balanced sense of pressure throughout the edges of your feet. Take one more breath in, and then exhale, lower down. Hug your knees in toward your chest a little bit here and take a little bit of free movement. Rocking, rolling some massaging pressure over that very lowest part of the back, the sacrum, the low back. And maybe circling your knees around a little bit. Just go ahead and explore. A little bit of good movement. Feels nice. All right. Let's plant those feet back on the floor here. And then turn on to either side. And just go ahead and press your way right up to a seat when you're ready. And you could always sit up on some blocks or a chair, or here in Sukhasana, deceiving name, it means easy pose, but it's very deceiving because this is a very challenging pose for a lot of people. Let's tent those fingertips off to the side whenever you get here. And then tuck your chin down toward the center of your chest. Feel through the back of your neck. Feel your shoulder blades kind of sinking down your back. And then start to rock your right ear toward your right shoulder. Noticing that left side of your neck. Let the left arm be nice and loose here. Kind of a heavy left shoulder, so you feel maybe even more amount of stretch through the left side of your neck. And then dip your chin back to the center. And then reach your left ear toward your left shoulder. This time the right shoulder is getting heavy, creating a little more space and stretch through the right side of your neck. And then go ahead and rock side to side a couple of times at your own pace, going nice and slow, feeling all those little nuances along the way, all those little tiny subtle feelings. Side to side, getting a little tension out of the neck here, loosening things up. Seems to me that most people I have encountered through yoga have a lot of tension held through the shoulders and the neck, as well as the hips, but definitely there's something with the neck, I think. So just giving your neck some love now. And whenever you feel that you've come to a good stopping point, let's just bring the gaze up to a neutral place. With an inhale, let's reach the arms around and up. Option to look up to your hands as they join. And exhale, lower your hands down to heart center. Inhale, reaching high, looking up if you like. Exhale, reaching around and down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. Inhale, reach high. And exhale, lower those hands down. Let's keep the right hand on the ground. Let's lift that left arm up and overhead. We'll take an inhale, lifting the left arm high. And exhale, side bend to the right. Let's switch sides every time this time. So with your inhale, we'll reach both hands high. And then exhale, lower that left hand, reach and bend through the right arm. With your own breath, inhales bring you back to the center. With your exhales, you can side bend in the opposite direction. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to side bend. Let's do one more time on both sides. So wherever you're at, just making sure that you're ending with a side bend to the left, so it's about equal. And then lowering your arms when you're done. Let's move along to hands and knees. So sweep those legs around and back. Tabletop position. And spreading your fingertips out nice and wide, a comfortable distance. You can always have your hands on blocks for a little less pressure through your wrists. So just notice. This is already a pretty intense wrist stretch for a lot of people. So just notice that. See if you can press your weight as equal as possible throughout all parts of the hands. Just maybe even kind of wobbling side to side or doing a little circle so you can feel that point where it feels like the pressure is somewhat equal. Then with an inhale, let's lower the belly, lift the gaze and the tailbone, finding cow pose. And exhale to round your spine, tuck your chin, tuck your tailbone, cat pose. Inhale, cow, belly lowers, gaze lifts. Exhale, cat, rounding up. Press the hands into the floor here. Finding a little stretch through the shoulders. Keep going at your own pace. You can always add on a little extra twist or turn or whatever feels fun or inviting to you. Whenever you've had enough of cat and cow, let's find our way to extended child's pose with the knees out wide, big toes touching behind you, and just sinking your seat toward your heels. You can always come back up a couple of times if it doesn't feel like you're quite ready to sink all the way in. You can also sit on a stack of pillows or blankets to lessen the amount of bend needed through the knees. And maybe coming to your forearms today, or walking your hands out toward the top of your mat, and then sinking your head and heart toward the floor. And noticing the shoulders, there's a lot of reach going on here. Adjust as needed. And when you're feeling kind of settled, let's see about doing about 3 belly breaths. So really letting your belly take up space with those inhales and softening, releasing with your exhales. Go ahead and continue. And feel free to stay here or join me in threading the needle from our child's pose today. So our lower half of the body can stay somewhat similar. We'll plant the right hand kind of right underneath your right shoulder. Let's lift that left arm up. So we're twisting up toward the left, reaching the left hand high. Hang out there if it feels good. When you're ready, we're dipping and twisting. That left hand threads down through the right arm. Set that left shoulder inside of the head on the floor or props if they reach. Your right hand could stay right there by your face, or you could crawl that right hand up to the top of your mat. And take any other variations you see fit. And see if you can breathe and send the energy of your breath to your left shoulder. What does that mean to you? And about one more breath. When the timing is right, plant your right hand back by your face, press your way all the way back up, lift the left hand high, twisting up and open. Ah, feels so good. Okay, now we'll switch sides. So the left hand comes down to the floor, that right hand starts to reach high, hang out a little bit, and then thread the needle, that right arm reaching down and through the right shoulder, the right side of the head, finding the floor if that is accessible. Left hand doing what it wants to do, staying put or walking up to the top of your mat. And then focusing and sending our energy of our breath to the right shoulder. You can push down through the back of that right arm a little more if you want just a little more twisting action going. Just about one more breath in and out. And then plant your left hand by your face, press your way up, reach that right arm high, and then bring your right hand to the floor. Let's come up to tabletop and then straighten your legs and lower your belly down to the floor, finding crocodile. So our hands stack under the forehead or the fists, or a block can come underneath the forehead. You find the right version for you. Let your heels just splay out to the sides for a moment. You could kind of rock the hips a little bit side to side. That just feels to me like unwinding the low back. And see about softening your body. Even your shoulders, even your face, even those glutes and your legs. And breathing in all these different types of positions is really good for our lung tissue. So if it feels a little challenging, just see about breathing through that challenge. Of course, being your best guide there. So if it's too challenging, of course, maybe coming up. And then we'll bend the knees so our feet are up in the air now behind us. And just let your feet kind of windshield wiper sway from side to side. And you can continue this kind of rainbow-like motion with the feet, or you might kind of swoop the legs, straightening them between going to each side. So maybe straightening and going to the left, and then straightening and going to the right. So we're just experimenting with that bent knee windshield wiper motion. Some people can feel it in their low back. For other people, it's more of a hip opener, hip loosener. Okay. And then planting your feet back down. Let's bring the hands to either side of the chest. Press your way up to tabletop. Let's find our first downward facing dog here. So grabbing your blocks if you have them. If it doesn't feel like a downward dog from the floor kind of day, you could bring your hands to the wall or bring your hands to a couch. You can get right into it, or plant your hands on your blocks, curl your toes under, and then start to pick up your knees, straightening your legs only as much as it feels good. Find your breath. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Let's let it flow. And then if you like, pedal your legs out, bending and straightening opposite knees. Keep pressing weight into both hands. Reach through your shoulders. We're here for 2 more breaths. And then bend your knees, look up toward your hands, and then step or walk your feet behind your blocks or hands for ragdoll forward fold. We have at least a little bend of the knees, maybe a big bend of your knees. You can let your hands and your upper body hang loose, or bring your hands to blocks to rest. Maybe nod your head yes and no a couple of times, using gravity as your, what's the word? Companion? That's not the right word. Gravity as your partner, helping you to feel some stretch, some release through your neck. Good, good. Let's have about 2 more breaths. One more breath. Then bend your knees a little deeper, tuck your chin to your chest, and then walk your hands up your legs as you slowly rise to stand. Once you get up to the top, let's inhale to bring those shoulders forward and then up, and then exhale to lower the shoulders back and down. If that felt good, maybe doing that one more time. Inhaling, shoulders up, exhaling back and down. And let's get a little shake going through the body. So maybe starting with the hands, maybe the arms, maybe a foot, a leg. Just at some point, kind of shaking throughout your whole body, as much or as little as you'd like. I also like to kind of lift and lower the heels, swing the arms, just getting everything flowing and moving. A little shake, a little bounce. All right, let's come on up to the top of your mat. Look down at your feet. Make sure your feet are a comfortable distance apart. Reach or face the palms of your hands to the front of your space. So we're kind of opening up through the chest, through the collarbones. With an inhale, reach both hands high, joining hands overhead. Option to look up as they join. Exhale, baby back bend. We'll cactus the arms, squeeze the glutes as you lift the heart and the gaze up. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Those arms reach wide. We're hinging at the hips. And then release your hands to the floor or blocks. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands come down to the floor or to the blocks. We'll step just the right foot back and then lower your right knee to the mat. Keep breathing like normal here. We're going to send the hips forward and down until you feel a good amount of stretch happening through that right hip, maybe the right thigh. Where else are you feeling it here? Really nice if you do have blocks to come up to the highest setting and press your hands into the blocks so you can have a more neutral spine instead of rounding forward. If you don't have blocks, but you do have good balance, you could stack your hands or interlace your fingers on top of that left knee and just kind of hang out there. Neutral spine. Take a few breaths. You can kind of come in and out of this good runner's lunge stretch, or just hold steady. I kind of like to do a little of both. And then we'll start to alternate between this runner's lunge or low lunge and our half split. So let's pull those hips back. We'll keep the hips lifted over that right knee. Pull those blocks back if you have them, and then peel your left toes up off of the floor. Only straightening your left leg enough so that you feel some amount of stretch happening through the back of your left leg. Again, we're up high on those blocks if you have them. If you're not feeling enough sensation, you might start to reach your heart toward your left knee. But go slow, be kind. Don't want to force it. And either staying here or now flowing between our half splits and our low lunge. So with your inhale, stepping that left foot down, lowering the hips, lifting that gaze straight ahead, low lunge. And then exhale to your half splits. Feel free to do that a few times, inhaling to come forward Exhaling back. Good. Next time you are in your low lunge, let's plant that left foot. We want to come out of our deepest lunge, so just kind of backing out so it feels a little bit more neutral and we're not getting a deep stretch now through that right joint, or right hip joint, rather. Then we're going to lift the arms up and overhead. And we'll take a little side bend to the left. I like to bring my left hand to my left hip. You could do that if you want. And then we're kind of pushing the right hip to the right as we reach the right arm up and over. So we're side bending. Maybe you can really feel what's going on here through that right side of the hip, right side of the leg, side. Good. With an inhale, come back up. And then exhale to lower your hands down to the floor or to blocks. We're going to do a step back here. So you can either keep that left foot between your hands, so the most challenging step back, or you can bring your left hand to the inside of your left foot for a little bit easier of a step back. We'll curl the right toes under, pick up that right knee, and then step the left foot back to your high plank. Shoulders over wrists. One big breath in here. Exhale, lower your knees, lower your chest. Untuck your toes, press the tops of your feet down into the mat. With your inhale, let's find our baby cobra. Lifting your head and chest, we're looking straight down. And exhale to lower. Inhale, lift to your baby cobra. Exhale, lower down. One last time. Inhale, baby cobra. Let's stay lifted here if you can. For your exhale. One more breath in with the option to pick the hands up, hovering those hands off of the floor. And exhale, lower down. With your inhale, rise up to tabletop, hands and knees. And exhale to your child's pose. Big breath in, feel that expansion through the mid-back. Big breath out. One more breath in. One more breath out. Inhale, rise up, tabletop. And exhale to downward dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, reach through your shoulders. Exhale. Last breath in. Last breath out. Inhale, bend your knees, look up to your hands. Exhale, step just your right foot forward and lower your left knee to the floor. Breathe like normal here as we start to sink the hips forward and down, grabbing those blocks if you have them. Come up to that highest setting. Press your hands into your blocks so you find a more neutral spine. As you find a good amount of stretch now through that left hip flexor, that left hip joint area. And staying in a static or a kind of a held pose, or kind of coming in and out of that sweet spot on this side. Really good hip openers here. Lots of good leg and hip work today. And then when you're ready, we're finding half split. So those hips go back, our blocks walk back, and then we peel the right toes up off of the floor. Again, you can keep a nice deep bend in that right knee if you're already feeling a good amount of stretch. If you're not, you might kind of straighten that leg, pulling your right hip crease back in space as you straighten. If you're still not feeling it, maybe sinking or reaching your heart toward your knee. Feel free to stay right here or begin to flow with it. Inhaling to come forward to your low lunge, pressing or planting the right foot down, gaze straight ahead, and exhaling back to your half splits. Go ahead and keep exploring. And whenever you get back to low lunge with the right foot planted, let's come out of that deep lunge. So we're in a little bit more of a neutral hip position here. And then when you're ready, we're lifting those hands up and overhead. And bring that right hip to your right hand to your right hip if you like. And then we're taking a little side bend toward the left. So kind of reach through the left hip. Press that left hip out. And reach the left hand over. Up and over. Notice what you're feeling and where you're feeling it. Just one more breath in. And breath out. Bring your hands down to the blocks. Or the floor. We're doing that step back again. So curling your left toes under and stepping your right foot back to your high plank. One big breath in here. And breath out. Knees lower, chest lowers. This time we're going to do our half or full locust pose. So the tops of the feet are pressing down into the mat. Straighten those arms. Reach your hands down by your sides. So we can either, let's do on our first round, we'll just do half locust, and then we'll do full locust the second round. So those tops of the feet press down a lot, so much that the knees start popping up, the glutes are working, those thighs are working. When you inhale, let's lift the head and chest, squeeze an imaginary beach ball behind your back so your hands are kind of facing each other, staying here for your exhale. 2 more breaths, inhale. Exhale. You're using your whole body here. 1 more inhale. Exhale, lower down. All right, you're free to do that same version again or try full locust with me this time. If you want to do that, the only difference really will be that we're lifting our legs as much as we can. So the legs are going to stay straight, but we're going to lift those legs. So you choose. With your inhale, rising up, half locust or full locust. We're using a lot of energy here. Stay here if you can for your exhale. 2 more breaths if you're with me. Inhale. Exhale. Try to keep your mind steady if you can, even if it's hard. 1 last inhale. Exhale, lower down. Stack your hands under your forehead. Find your crocodile pose. Heels splaying out to the sides. Notice what it feels like to go from a pretty engaged position to a very soft, floppy even position. I like that cue, floppy. Breathe here, come back to stillness. Take a clearing breath in through your nose. Sigh it out. When you're ready, plant your hands next to your chest. Press your way up to tabletop. And then take an exhale to sink into child's pose 1 last time. If you want to go for a little more of a shoulder stretch, you could kind of walk your fingertips forward as you sink your hips back. You could come up to the fingertips, tenting your hands. You could sway a little bit side to side. And we'll be here just for 1 more breath. With an inhale, rise up to tabletop. And exhale to our last downward dog. 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath in. And out. Inhale, bend your knees, look up to your hands, but with your exhale, walk your hands to the back of your mat so you end up in a forward fold at the back. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Press down through the bottoms of your feet. Use an inhale to rise all the way up, sweeping those arms around. Join your palms at the top. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. Find your center. Maybe close your eyes. And let's take a clearing breath, inhaling through your nose. Sigh to release. Blinking your eyes open if they were closed. You can let your hands come down by your sides if you want. We'll do a little bit of balancing here. So, just taking a look at your feet, maybe giving them a little movement or a little stretch or a little rock and roll forward and back over your feet as you kind of stamp your feet down into the floor. Good solid base. All right, we'll do a little balancing series here. So let's shift all of the weight to that right leg. Hands could be up at your heart or down by your sides or holding on to something for support. Let's find one-legged mountain pose with that left knee starting to lift. You always keep the left toes on the floor for balance. If the toes are down, maybe you just bend your ankle and lift the toes up every once in a while just to see if that feels steady. Maybe that left knee comes to about hip height, flexing the foot. Take a big breath in. Exhale, straighten that left leg. Heel could be hovering off of the floor or touching down. Inhale, one-legged mountain, left knee lifts. Exhale, straighten. Touch your left heel to the floor. Just a baby step forward. Step all of your weight into your left foot, coming up to the tippy toes on that right foot. With an inhale, reach the hands straight ahead. Exhale, airplane pose, the arms sweep back. Those shoulder blades hug together. The right toes can stay down on the floor here, or you start to lean forward, tipping forward, that chest reaching up. Right foot could take flight behind you. With an inhale, rise back up. Bring the right knee with you to one-legged mountain pose. Toes could always still be on the floor. That's cool. Exhale, straighten that right leg. Inhale, one-legged mountain. Exhale, straighten. Breathe like normal. Step that right heel down. Shift all of your weight to the right foot now. With your inhale, reach the arms forward. Exhale, airplane pose. Couple of breaths. When you're ready, using an inhale to come back up, bring that left knee up with you if you can. One-legged mountain. Exhale, straighten. We're going to switch it up a little bit this time with your inhale, one-legged mountain. Exhale to airplane pose. So that left leg goes back, the arms reach back, the shoulder blades reach back behind you. You could keep that left toe down on the floor or lean forward and take flight. With an inhale, come back up. Inhale to lift the left knee. And exhale, stepping down. Step to the left foot. One last side. Inhale, one-legged mountain pose with that right knee lifting. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, one-legged mountain. This is where we change it up. Exhale, airplane pose. That right leg reaching back. Arms reaching back, taking flight. Another good variation is to have hands on a chair or on your couch, getting some strength through that right leg. When you're ready, come back up. Bring that right knee with you. And exhale, step down. Good work, everyone. All right. It's that time. We're coming right back down to the floor. So go ahead and kind of just sit on down. Come to a seat first. and then to your back. Bring the knees with you as you find your back. Take a little bit more of that free movement we did before, rocking some weight around the low back and the sacrum, holding on to your knees, circling those knees around, or just rocking back and forth. Find some really nice heavy pressure through any areas that are calling for it. I find that the slower I go, it just feels like deeper you can go. Take your time here. And closing up with a little twist. Let's do an eagle leg twist today. So those feet come down to the floor, arms reaching wide. Let's pick up that left leg and cross it over the right leg like you're sitting in a chair. So thigh to thigh, knee to knee. Pick up your pelvis, scoot over to the left edge of your mat, and then allow your knees to start twisting to the right. Bringing some props underneath the stack of legs here, or a pillow or something if you'd like. Maybe turning your gaze to the left. Take a couple of full breaths, as full as you can in a twist. And eventually coming up to switch sides. Delicately transitioning here. So we uncross the legs, scoot the pelvis back to the center, pick up that right leg, cross it over the left. Again, the legs are tight, thigh to thigh, knee to knee. Pick up your pelvis, scoot way over toward the right edge of the mat, and then allow your knees to start twisting to the left. Gaze can stay where it's at, or maybe start to look gently to the right. Just exploring what a deep breath feels like in a twist. Take your time here and eventually come back up to the center. Uncross your legs, scoot back to the center of your mat, and then find any last movements, poses, or stretches that your body is now wanting or asking for. Maybe a happy baby, maybe you just lift a leg or let your knees go out wide. So many ways to move. Which ways do you want to do now? Explore that for as long as you'd like. And then when you're feeling ready for final rest, make your way there. Maybe finding Shavasana, the classic resting pose, corpse pose with your arms and legs outstretched. Maybe constructive rest pose with your knees bent and your feet standing up at the edges of your mat. I always suggest letting your knees rest together at the center. And keep adjusting and exploring until you feel comfortable. And if that moment comes, perhaps closing your eyes or just looking in a certain area. And releasing any need to control your breath. I am minding the time here, so just let you drift into your Shavasana here for a couple minutes. And I'll bring us all back on the other side. And remembering that this is a time for rest, so let those thoughts of the past or the future be not in this moment, but another. Just rest. Just breathe. And remember that you are welcome to stay and rest as long as you would like. Eventually, as you reawaken, just starting by wiggling fingers and toes, and inviting in smaller or larger movements, maybe a yawn or swallow, maybe a long body stretch eventually. And then choosing a side to roll over into the fetal position. Maybe using that bottom arm as a pillow and your top arm as a little kickstand. Take a full breath, just resting here. And then use the help of your arms and hands to press your way up to a seat. If it feels okay to close your eyes, we'll do that as we join hands in front of the heart center. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and be free. And may our own thoughts, words, and actions somehow contribute to that happiness and freedom for all. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Together, let's bring thumbs up to third eye center. And in a little gesture of gratitude, let's take a little bow forward together now. Peace. Thank you so much for being here.